So a post was made in mid-December of last year, at kind of the height of when Lethal Company was pretty popular, featuring two mods, a Protogen mod and a dancing or twerking mod, with the caption "Lethal Company getting spicy" in a video showcasing both of these mods. Alright, let's talk about Protogen furries and the concerning behavior I've seen surrounding them. But also from the standpoint from both furries and non-furries, who I've seen treat Protogen furries not so great simply because they're a Protogen, usually associating any sort of bad behaviorism or bad actor within the furry community who has a Protogen furry with the phrase, "it's always a Protogen." That, in and of itself, I feel like, is a bad mentality to have. Protogens have gotten a lot more flack recently. But late last year, I remember this Lethal Company Protogen twerking mod drama that happened, and how it resulted in a lot of people putting Protogen do not interact in their profiles. Well, fast forward nearly a year later, there's another event somewhat happening, not as big as last year's, about a Protogen bad actor, as I'm gonna call them, who got highlighted because of their Discord account, and pretty much everything listed in that bio is like filling the whole bingo card sheet out of every single thing you don't want to see in someone online. Remember the video I did a little bit ago talking about the fox furry stereotype and how it was weird because, you know, they were associated with being bottoms, they were associated with being like femboy twinks and whatnot. I get those stereotypes might exist for a reason, but you gotta be careful with how you say it and who you say it to, because it could be hurtful or harmful. That same thing sort of applies here with Protogens, except with the Protogen mentality that I've seen recently, it's gotten a little concerning. It's concerning because there are many people who might have Protogen Fursonas who do not act like a lot of the examples that I might be talking about today, regardless of whether or not you think some of them are problematic or not. It's concerning in the sense where furries, I feel like, shouldn't be judging someone based on their Fursona species in terms of determining their character. I guess more or less what we're going to be talking about today is categorizations, at least in the realm of Fursona species, that might not be healthy. So let's talk about it today, starting off with the recent, I guess, drama associated with Protogens coming from terrible Discord profiles. And also, speaking of Protogens, I do have a Protogen plushie available for pre-order. The Maverick Proto Plush. Comes with or without the life jacket, whichever you would like. You can choose to have it or not. This will be the last Maverick, I guess, Protogen plush piece of merch that I have till I redesign the character entirely, not just the Protogen version, but the Fursona itself, who's angry in the back for some reason. I forgot to change his eyelids, oh well. If you want to pre-order the plushie today, the link will be in the description below, so please go and get that if you would like. Your support absolutely means the world. I've done my shameless shill. Oh, hell no! This tweet showed up on my feed of a Protogen Discord profile that was put on blast for being, honestly, not great, just based on the bio that it has in the account. It pretty much lists off, like, every little thing on the bingo card that you just don't want to see in someone. Like, that bingo card is, like, crossed off entirely. Everything is checked. But let's go over it. So the tweet in question has the caption, "Nah bro, I know what you are." With the Discord profile having a Protogen icon, which I'll tell you this right now, I've seen like 6 to 7 different accounts follow me on Twitter with that exact profile picture in the last 2 days alone. So it's a relatively popular icon. If I were to guess, the artist is Cool Koinu, because fun little fact, Cool Koinu ended up creating the Protogen species. Hold on, I'm not even gonna do it right now. I'm just gonna copy it. I'm gonna take a little screenshot of this profile. I'm gonna save it, and then I'm gonna throw it into Google reverse image search, and we're gonna see what happens. I'm sure something is gonna come up. Search by image. Let me do this right now. I mean, this is kind of fun to do. Let's see. Yep. So many images and memes come up with this one profile picture. I don't even know who the original artist is. Oh, I just clicked on the first image and it led me to another account that also follows me that has that profile picture. So one thing to keep in mind, this profile picture in question is used a lot, and the banner in the account is a meme. What does the rest of the account have to say? Well, that's the concerning part. Let's go to the About Me section. Pausexual, polyamorous, omni, skunk, cute Protogen, no RAM for you, 25 years old. Okay, not so bad so far. Pro shipper, dark shipper, lol. Zoo writes, mwahahaha. Oh, and I forgot to mention, their account name is Skibbity Toilet George Floyd. So with that information in mind, I want you guys to say it with me now. This account is bait. Very good. This person could be 25, they could not be 25, they could be this and that, based on what they have in the bio, or they could not be. But at the end of the day, this is highlighting a terrible Discord profile that has a Protogen as the icon. Because regardless of whether or not this account is truthful at the end of the day with everything that it says, they're very likely looking for a reaction. And reactions it got. There were plenty of people saying things like, "We do not claim this Protogen." Why is it always a Protogen? As a member of the furry community, we do not accept him, and anyone who denies this is also unacceptable. And then the quote retweet that actually brought this to my attention, "It's always the Protogens." So the takeaway that I'm getting from this is, 1, it's not a good account, obviously, and 2, for some reason the blame, or at least the defense that I've seen from a lot of furries in the comments and quote retweets, is that it's always Protogens, or "we do not claim this furry." I know it's more of a meme to say we don't claim him, but when you have someone that can literally just make their profile picture like a Protogen and can list all this heinous stuff and then ends up being highlighted as an awful Discord account, awful person or whatnot, then yeah, you know, obviously you want to not be associated with it. And hopefully people are more privy to this knowledge that, hey, anyone can just come in, say that they're a furry, and try to do damage to the community because they want to. But I think saying we do not claim this furry, we do not associate with them, is a good approach. The one thing that's a little concerning, which is more of the focus of today, is the "it's always Protogens" part. Where did this narrative come from that Protogens are problematic, or at least have behaviorisms that are unsavory, that give furries a bad rep, that give Protogens themselves a bad rep? I love the species, I have one of my very own, I don't really use Protogen as my character. If anything, it's more like, oh, it's a cutesy thing, and if people like it, you know, that's cool. But I know a lot of people who are very connected with their Protogen personas.
We don't talk about
Protogens.
oh, no, no, no. We don't talk about
Protogens.
So a post was made in mid-December of last year, at kind of the height of when Lethal Company was pretty popular, featuring 2 mods, a Protogen mod and a dancing or twerking mod, with the caption "Lethal Company getting spicy" in a video showcasing both of these mods. I don't know if I can necessarily show it, or at least a portion of it, but Protogens are twerking and dancing in a way that looks provocative. Outside of twerking just being naturally provocative as is, I feel like. People, it's the whole point of twerking, isn't it? I love the caption though, "Lethal Company getting spicy." I remember this post being made and it blowing up on my feed to the point where everyone was dunking on it. Like saying, "This is why furries have a bad rep, this is why people don't like Protogens. Haha, get it? The joke is porn, haha." The usual furry social media riffraff that happens. The post ended up blowing up in popularity, and unfortunately it did not get a good reception. In fact, it got such a bad rep that people ended up putting "Protogen do not interact" in their Twitter profiles, saying they do not want to interact with Protogens go away, and just completely writing off an entire species just based off of this one video. I know all of this happened like a year ago, and at this point it's a little irrelevant, but I do feel like it kind of rebounds upon itself, where these happenings with specific species kind of build up, and it leads to this narrative that we see now, or at least I've been hearing about more recently. It's always the Protogens. And what does that mean? Well, Protogens, I guess supposedly, have bad behaviorisms, or set a bad example for the rest of Protogens or for the rest of furry, and so the association that some people are making is that Protogens aren't great. I'm sure there are plenty of other examples that I'm missing from little happenings on furry social media, but I think reasonably, at the end of the day, Protogens should not be viewed poorly because of 1 or 2 people that might be bad actors or have bad behavior. It's an example of how grouping a few bad people with a huge group of people is harmful. It's kind of like the same mentality that you see happen a lot where non-furries will group furries with zoophiles, or that furries are naturally sex pests, which, again, you know, you're gonna need a bit more than 1 to 2 to 3 examples at the end of the day to prove any of that, which reasonably most people know furries are not intrinsically zoophiles, furries are not intrinsically sex pests, just like Protogens are not intrinsically harmful or bad people or have bad behaviorisms. Could there be some pattern behavior? Maybe, but I think writing off or thinking poorly of an entire Fursona species just because of a few bad actors is wrong and very harmful, especially for those that do not contribute to that small group. Because you gotta think about it in this sense. Protogens, at least to me, have always been a popular Fursona species. There have been so goddamn many Protogens. Ever since they were released, I remember doing a whole video breakdown on them, and it ended up blowing up. I know a lot of people love having Protogens as their characters, and I kind of see it as being just as popular as like foxes, wolves, huskies, dogs, and so on in furry. I don't know if there's any actual statistical breakdown for it, but I'd like to believe that Protogens are one of the more popular Fursonas within furry, at least within the fictional realm of it. One of the furry-made Fursona species. That's not tied to a specific animal, but was just made as this robotic, synthetic, hybrid character. Now I guess to conclude the Protogen twerking mod Lethal Company drama, I think everyone overreacted about it because at the end of the day, it really wasn't that bad of a thing. I know a lot of people worry about the reputation of the furry fandom, which is something that I want to cover in a better way than I did a few months ago. But if you think that that mod is ruining the reputation of furries, oh honey, you got a real storm coming your way. And that's the funny thing about that drama, even before that tweet ended up breaking out of its intended audience, furries already were not a fan of it. It could have been more of a discussion on, I guess, the abundance of sex jokes within furry. So it's weird that the takeaway that people had was, yes, Protogens are the problem here. It's just, it's weird to me. That's why it doesn't make much sense, and that's why I'm seeing this mentality happen more and more of like, oh, it's always Protogen furries, and why I think it's really, in my opinion, dangerous and harmful to even have this mentality. It'll make those who are just trying to enjoy the character feel bad about having it. That's why I feel like the criticisms are kind of misguided. It could be a criticism about Protogens, but I feel like it would be more of a criticism about, I guess, sex jokes within the furry community, which at the end of the day, I don't think is really that bad. At least this time around with this recent Protogen drama, a lot more people are aware that the mentality of it's always Protogens is not a great way to do it. Because one person or a few people making bad decisions or setting a bad example for the community doesn't mean that's what the rest of the community or the rest of the group is like. If you look at things strictly in a negative light too, you're bound to think, okay, the world is an awful, awful place. If you keep seeing all these negative things about Protogens, then yeah, you're gonna think that Protogens aren't great. And I'm saying that as someone who used to be jaded about Protogens a good few years back. Which come 2022, I actually ended up banning and blocking the words Protogen and Beep Boop in my Twitch chat. Reason being, there were many different Protogen furries that would just come in and start randomly role-playing, making Protogen jokes, toaster jokes, cheese jokes, when it wasn't really warranted or nothing like that came up. Protogens would come into the stream, and this isn't saying all Protogens, this is just people that followed me at the time, watched my streams, and interacted. The good few that I did see come in, I feel like didn't have much good social etiquette, or at least chat etiquette. At least, because I'd be talking about something random, and then I'd look over in chat and see, like, something the Protogen making beep boop jokes, saying, like, I want RAM, give me RAM, I'm hungry, streamer notice me, beep boop, I'm a Protogen, hello fellow Protogen, cheese. I'd always assume it's like a kid, a younger furry on the internet, and I just, like, tell them to chill, and they wouldn't, and then I banned them, and so it got to the point where it's like, I don't want to hear any of these jokes anymore, so I just banned the words entirely. It's just that at the time, I associated Protogens with mainly being, like, children's Fursonas. Why do I say that? Well, the etiquette and interactions I saw in my Twitch chat definitely didn't seem like something that I'd see that adults would do per se. Which I feel like the assumption of saying that Protogens are mainly used by kids is both true and untrue. It's more of an observation that I've had, at least with regards to interactions in my chat or with, I guess, seeing people online. Does that mean that every Protogen out there, or majority of them, are like kids Fursonas? No. But at least from what I consider Protogens to be, at least within the grand scheme of furry, it kind of makes sense that a lot of younger furries would probably choose a Protogen as their first Fursona. The first reason why is because, quite simply, Protogens look cool. Like, I think they look neat. They got, like, the synthetic parts, they got, like, the computer parts, they got the visor that can be whatever expression you want. It's got aspects of fluffiness, furriness, and it kind of takes into account the sci-fi realm of things. For the past few years, I've considered Protogens as like the starter Fursona, or at least kind of like the gateway into furry, but also could be written off or explained as being sci-fi. So for example, if someone sees your personal character as like a Protogen or something, and they're not a furry, you could potentially write off that character as being a sci-fi character, because one, it has its own lore and its own universe, it has its own little sub-community, both in furry and kind of separate from furry. Is that the case now? I don't necessarily think so, especially knowing how many Protogen furries there are out there, how many brand accounts I see have Protogen Fursonas, especially the case with the recent Protogen drama from the Protogen Discord profile, so yeah. Like, nothing was mentioned of furries, and furries were brought up. I don't understand how the end solution that a lot of people had was to say that Protogen furries are bad, we're not interacting with them anymore. Like, with my sense, you know, I banned the word Protogen in my Twitch chat. I didn't ban anyone who came into chat who was a Protogen, and I'm like, you, go away. I never fully alienated it in that sense. However, you know, the narrative and videos that I did about it could have very much been the case. People to some extent, you know, take it as, hey, I don't want to interact with Protogens at all because of this specific, I guess, behavior. Which I get within the realm of you don't want to interact with younger furries, you know, just put minors, do not interact in your profile. That's what I do on my 18+ accounts. It's easy. I feel like that would, you know, narrow down the solution rather than just be like, hey, no Protogens interact. But again, that's a bold assumption for even me to make, because I know there are plenty of furries out there who aren't, you know, kids on the internet who have Protogen characters. So it's really weird. You can make assumptions that are either right or wrong based on observations that you've had or personal experiences. And at the end of the day, you know, despite me saying it might not be a good idea or healthy per se to group Protogens all as these bad, problematic people, or to put Protogens do not interact on your profile, you can do what you want at the end of the day. I can't control that, and no one can. However, just know that narratives like that is not really good for the rest of the community, or at least those who are trying to just enjoy a character species that they want without actually, you know, adding harm to the world. Some stereotypes are just supposed to be goofy and based on observations that you see happening time and time again. And that very well could also be the case for Protogens. Stereotyping is just something we all naturally do, but we shouldn't feed into it, especially when some of these stereotypes are very unhealthy. It's not assessing the actual problem that might be happening with either these bad actors or bad behaviorisms. It's just putting this problem on an entire group of people, and that being fictional Fursona species on the internet. Is it really just the Protogens that are the problem? A lot of furry problems are people problems. I think at the end of the day, all we can do is just keep in mind that stereotypes like grouping one bad person in with another group of people is very not healthy to do. And you also can't judge someone's character based on their fursona, just like you can't judge someone's character based on their fursuit either. Especially in a community where we identify ourselves with our fursonas and our characters by proxy. Overall, I think this drama is redundant. It's not even necessarily drama, but it's something that I wanted to bring up within the big picture of stereotyping and trying to read people's characters based on their fursonas. All we can really do is just remember, treat people like people. You know, they might have a specific fursona that you might like or you might not like. You're allowed to make the decisions you want at the end of the day. But don't judge someone's character based on what someone else does that that person has no affiliation with, besides having a common Fursona species. But either way, that's what I wanted to talk about today. So on that note, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to let me know in the comments. I greatly appreciate any feedback on this. I'm trying to get into more of, I guess, the social, psychological aspects of, I guess, internet culture, furry adjacent internet culture. And I've been having a lot of fun with it, so if you want me to do more stuff like this, or you have some other topic you want me to break down and discuss, I'd love to hear about it. Please let me know in the comments, and maybe it'll be the next video. Maybe your comment will be featured in the next video. I'm just saying. Have a wonderful night, take care, life stay jacket, treat people like people, and that's about it. Take care, guys.